Good evening and welcome to another edition of Cyclone InCYders. As always, alongside Matt Van Winkle, I'm your host, Aaron Bauer. Let's get right to it, Matt.
Let's do it.
Big win Saturday for the Iowa State men's basketball team. Swept Oklahoma on the season, took down the Sooners 80-69 inside Hilton Coliseum in front of another packed house. That was good to see. And Iowa State really showed a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of play. They played hard coming off the bench. Tyrus McGee, Melvin Edgem, he did get ejected. Probably not what Fred Hoiberg wanted to see, but he can't really change that now. So what impressed you about the Cyclones' victory on Saturday?
I really thought we saw the full potential of this team for once. It's good to see when the Cyclones are hitting on all cylinders. Scotty's hitting from three. Chris Allen's hitting from three. Royce White didn't have his greatest game, but he dished out, I think, 8 assists. So Royce White just doing his thing, dishing out dimes. This team, I think, is heading in the right direction. They're doing a great job right now. And I think that Fred Hoiberg has this team playing its best basketball of the season right now. And I think looking ahead to their next game, they got to keep shooting the ball well. Right now, what I've been most impressed with was on the game Saturday was Chris Babb's three-point defense. I think when the Cyclones are hitting threes and Chris Babb can just shut down the other team's best player, the Cyclones have a great shot to win there.
Definitely. Chris Babb is one of the premier defenders in the Big 12 Conference. And, you got to put that good win behind you and work your way. You got another tough one tomorrow night. Maybe they will probably overlook them. Texas Tech, bottom of the league. But then again, anybody can beat anybody in the Big 12, and Texas Tech's going to come in hungry. They knocked off that Oklahoma team by 20 or so they can play Big 12 basketball. They're going to come up teams. Iowa State is definitely going to have to be ready. If we can pull up the graphic for the Iowa State-Texas Tech stats, what does Iowa State have to do to pick up another Big 12 win and get to 10 wins on the season?
Well, you said you definitely can't look past Texas Tech. This is a team that's really hungry for a win. They're a great coach team. They're 1-9 on the road, so it's not saying a lot about this team. And Iowa State, you look at them, they're 14-2 at home. So Iowa State's done a great job this season of protecting the home court. Iowa State beat Texas Tech earlier this season, 76-52. So what this team has what it takes to beat Texas Tech. But as Texas Tech is heading into their final Big 12 games, they want to keep that momentum going into the Big 12 tournament, just as every other Big 12 team does, Aaron.
And Iowa State's been where Texas Tech is before in years past. Last year, exactly. 3-13 to finish out the Big 12 play. It's not fun, trust me. And Texas Tech, like you said, is going to come up to Ames. They're going to want to play well, and they want to ruin maybe Iowa State's chances at maybe the 4 seed in the Big 12 tournament, and maybe even their NCAA tournament hopes if they do get a victory here. But so Iowa State, like you said, can't overlook them. But then again, you got to come back and you got to keep doing what Iowa State's been doing best, and that's shooting the three ball. And Scotty Christopherson really has lit it up the last few games.
Absolutely. Went over his 1,000th career point mark on Saturday. Big accomplishment for him at 25 points. Hit 5 3-pointers in the game. He's just a guy you got to rely on every night. We've seen games that he struggles, and the Cyclones struggled as a result. And, we look at Royce White's play on Saturday as well. As I said, he only scored, I think, 5-7 points. But as I said, he dished out, I think, 8 assists. So when you got a guy like Royce White that can score, and he's not scoring, you need a guy like Melvin Edgem that comes in there and does absolute work. 11 points. I think he had something like 13 rebounds on the game. So Melvin Edgem just doing a great job down there. Been really impressed with the way he's played. As we said, got ejected from that game. He spoke to the media, though, on Monday about it, and he was saying, something he shouldn't have done. It was in the moment. It was something that he was getting pushed around a lot in that game. Elbows were being thrown. It was kind of just a retaliation thing late in the game. He definitely regrets it. Melvin's a great guy. He was one of the Big 12 all-academic team members, from one of the 4 that Iowa State had inducted this past week. So, Melvin's a great guy. It's tough to see that guy, but I don't think he's going to get any more suspensions coming from this. I think Coach Hoiberg.
Yeah, Fred Hoiberg said in his post-game interview he didn't expect any suspensions from Melvin Edgem. And you got to understand these are 20 to 23-year-old kids, so they're going to play this game they love. They're going to play it emotionally. They're going to wear their emotions on their sleeves. And emotions did get the best of Melvin Edgem. Understandable. He apologized for it, said all the right things. Like you said, there's no excuse for it. He's going to move on, and I think he's going to grow as a basketball player from this. But putting that aside, I thought his whole game and also Tyrus McGee went for what we like to call 50-50 balls, where those are the loose balls, and who's going to be the first on the floor to get those, maintain the possession, and especially in Big 12 basketball as you're coming down late, possessions are very key coming down to the end of the ball game. And I thought Tyrus McGee and Melvin Edgem really gave Iowa State a chance to win those 50-50 balls.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You can definitely rely on Melvin and Tyrus to get those 50-50 balls. We see them on the floor hustling every time, it seems like. And, we look at that game, and you see guys, like Royce White, who usually have a lot of energy in the games, but sometimes they don't. But it's good to see this team playing with a lot of energy right now. And when they have a lot of energy and you see them get those leads at halftime, I think this is a really dangerous team, especially headed into the Big 12 tournament. And after that win on Saturday, Iowa State became tied with Baylor for third place in the Big 12, and we saw Missouri go down tonight to Kansas State. So that even helps Iowa State's chances to maybe move up in the bracket as well.
And Baylor got a big win over Texas last night. So moving forward here, Royce White, every opponent's going to focus on him, try to shut him down. We saw Texas do it. We saw Baylor do it.
Yeah.
And expect the same thing. Baylor did throw that zone at him, and he admitted that gave him some troubles. So it's good to see him not get frustrated when he's not getting his offense, trying to deal other players get their offense. So do you think Fred Hoiberg come tomorrow night is going to try to utilize him more or keep doing what's been working?
I think you got to utilize him. I think that it's a big weakness for Texas Tech. I think Iowa State can definitely use Royce White to their advantage tomorrow night. They're also going to have Anthony Booker back, who didn't see playing time against Oklahoma. Not sure what that was. Fred Hoiberg said it was a coaching decision. Maybe it was something that he did behind the scenes that he can't tell us about, but we're going to see Anthony Booker back. That's a big threat from three-point range and from down on the block. We're also going to see Boo Boo Paulo back, who suffered a wrist injury. I think he's fractured a bone in his wrist, so we're going to see him back. And when he went down, it was just the start of the Big 12 play. I think it was right before the Texas game when Boo Boo got injured, and he was providing a lot of energy off the bench. We'd see him go out there and get 8-10 points a game, and that's something I think that Iowa State has been missing lately. And other guys we've seen have stepped up, like Tyrus McGee has definitely been one of those guys, and even Percy Gibson as well.
Percy Gibson definitely playing well for Iowa State. And as you focus on, as you said, Boo Boo is one of those first guys you come and bring in that he's going to give you the hustle plays. Like we've mentioned, Tyrus McGee, Melvin Edgem. Right. Chris Babb is going to get to you on the defensive end, but don't forget about Chris Allen on the offensive end. A very confident kid who's going to go get his shot, believes he can make every shot he throws up there, and he's going to cause defenses problems, whether he's driving to the hoop, dishing out for the open three, feeding Royce White or whatever. But, maybe don't want to say look past, but who's coming up next for Iowa State. You got Texas Tech tomorrow, but then you got a big one going down to Manhattan, Kansas against Kansas State, who got that big win in Columbia over Missouri tonight. So if we can pull up the graphics on Iowa State, Kansas State here real quick. Iowa State going down to Bramlage Coliseum in Manhattan, Kansas. Remember when Kansas State came up to Ames, Royce White had to beat him on the last second shot, and a physical game that Iowa State could easily have lost.
Oh, and that was a huge turnaround for this Iowa State team to get that win. Coming off that Oklahoma State win, then going right into that Kansas State win. Two dramatic finishes, or I think it was the Kansas win and then the Kansas State win. But as we've seen at home this year, Iowa State's been playing absolutely amazing at home. But when they go on the road to play at the Octagon of Doom, it's going to be a different story for Iowa State. Going to be a really tough place for them to play. Iowa State's going to have to play their best basketball of the season, I think. And as they head down into the final stretch of the season, we got some big games coming up, as we know. The final game of the season at home against Baylor, that is going to be a huge game. We've been talking about it for the past few weeks. But to me, that is a huge chance for Iowa State to, as we've seen these Big 12 games, anything can happen. And as we head into the Big 12 tournament, Iowa State has a great chance to solidify even as maybe a two seed, maybe even that 3 seed in the Big 12 tournament.
Like you said, Iowa State probably arguably has the toughest Big 12 schedule to end the season. On the road at Kansas State, on the road at Missouri, and then at home, as you said, against Baylor. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this team grows. I think they might have played themselves into the NCAA tournament already, unless they completely collapse and go 0-4. I don't think that's going to happen here. We'll talk about the NCAA tournament more in our third segment tonight as we touch on the Big 12. Running out of time right here in our first segment. Tomorrow night, Iowa State, Texas Tech. Big game for Iowa State. Going, like we said, down to Manhattan, Kansas. Who you got?
I got Iowa State, Aaron. I got Iowa State. I think they'll win probably in double figures. I'm thinking probably about 10.
All right, I'll agree with you. Got to hear the first break right here on Cyclone InCYders. Coming up next, the women are in action over at Hilton Coliseum. We'll update you on that, show you highlights from the pink out as well. Stay tuned. You're watching Cyclone InCYders. Welcome back to Cyclone InCYders alongside Matt Van Winkle, and now joining us at the desk, Iowa State women's basketball analyst Meredith Spragg. So Meredith, big game down there. We'll touch on that here in a little bit. They're playing Missouri, but Iowa State did get a big win Saturday, taking down Oklahoma. We got the highlights to that, and ISU TV's very own Andrew Schneider has the story.
Iowa State is looking for any chance of postseason play, and they needed a big win against the Oklahoma Sooners on Saturday night. The Twister sisters scored early and often, shooting 47.9% from the floor while hitting 11 of 21 from beyond the arc. Nikki Moody was the center of Iowa State's offense, dishing 11 assists after she was benched in the second half against Kansas last Wednesday. Head coach Bill Fennelly was impressed with his team's effort against the Sooners.
Win for our team in a lot of ways, and certainly one that it's probably the first time all year where we had a lot of people contribute and our best player was not at her best. So I think that says a lot.
The top scorer of the game was Lauren Mansfield, who tallied 22 points and was 6 of 8 from three-point land. She talked about the importance of hitting the 500 mark in conference play after the 0-5 start.
I think it feels really good. We knew that, we could do it. We had confidence. Maybe not at the time. We were kind of stressed, but once we started winning and feeling better, we really picked up and we just got that confidence. And when we play well, I think we have a shot at the
For ISU TV Sports, I'm Andrew Schneider.
And as you saw in the highlights, Iowa State really shot the basketball well to take down Oklahoma. Not so much tonight over in Hilton Coliseum as bottom feeder Missouri comes in, only one Big 12 win in the season. So game Iowa State really should have won, but they're shooting under 30%. Last time we checked, 47-43 Meredith. So Iowa State, under 5 minutes left, what do they got to do, and what did you expect from this game?
I mean, I expected better shooting. The Oklahoma game, it was 8 threes we had.
Yeah.
And this game at half, we were shooting and we had 23% at half. Now it's 28%. In order for Iowa State to pull this game off, we've got to make our outside shots. It's just not going to happen with how we're shooting right now.
And like you said, Matt, we'll pull up the stats. Thank you very much right there. Missouri went into conference play at 10-1, and now they're sitting at 11-14. Really struggled in conference play, sitting at 1-13. Only averaging about 60 points per game, shooting about 40%. Iowa State, not much better, but still a little bit better. And Iowa State's really picked it up these last few games.
Yeah.
What do they have to do, like we said, and what's maybe causing the bad shooting night?
Well, the bad shooting probably is coming from beyond the three-point line. We saw Iowa State against Oklahoma really shoot the ball well from three. Lauren Mansfield did a great job. I think she had 5 3-pointers in that game against Oklahoma. And we saw also Hallie Christopherson really step up lately well from the beyond the arc. And in that Oklahoma game, we also saw Chelsea Poppins go down with foul trouble. She had 4 fouls, but then we saw Anna Prince step up and really, really play well. Went into double figures, had 7 rebounds, I believe. So Anna Prince is really a girl that Iowa State, she started the season injured and really came off slow to start the Big 12. And she's really come on lately to help this team improve. And
you mentioned Anna Prince, but the backbone of this Iowa State basketball team, Meredith, is Chelsea Poppins, a junior. What has she done this year? And she's really kind of turned Iowa State's season around.
Oh, definitely. She is #1 in rebounding in the Big 12. I mean, that's impressive. She's averaging, she's averaging 10.8 rebounds a game. I mean, you couldn't ask more for a big player down there. She's the leader. Like they said last game, they keep shooting. If they miss the ball, she's going to get the rebound. She's going to put it back up. That makes the shooter feel 10 times better if they miss it, and their own player gets the offensive board and puts it back up.
Definitely, like you said, it gives the shooters more confidence to know that they're going to have their teammate down there rebounding, who might kick it out. They might get a second chance, or once again put it up for an offensive rebound and 2 more points. So quickly, Matt, add to what Iowa State has to do tonight.
Chelsea Poppins is a really unique player. They really need her to get going. I think if Iowa State wants to play well, they really need girls to shoot well from beyond the arc. But Chelsea Poppins, as we said, needs to clean up down low. As we look at her stats here, averaging 14.5 points per game, averaging a double-double. The only girl on the Cyclones to be doing that right now, shooting 48% from the field. So she's a girl that Iowa State really needs to rely on because they really don't have a lot of height. Hallie Christopherson really is a forward, but she really has been shooting the ball well from beyond the arc as well. As we said, Anna Prince comes in there, grabs a few rebounds, but they can't only rely on Chelsea Poppins. They need other people to step in there. And when Iowa State isn't shooting well from beyond the three-point range, we've seen this team struggle, and that's what they're doing tonight.
And as you mentioned, Missouri is at the bottom, but they've really got a girl a lot like Chelsea Poppins, and Christina Flores. If we can pull up her profile here right quick, she's really been keeping the Missouri Tigers in these basketball games. She's a senior. She's been through the thick and thin. As you can see right there, averaging 17.5 points per game, shooting 80% from the free throw line and 43% from the field. So she's a girl that you better believe is playing her heart out over there at Hilton Coliseum for those Tigers. And Iowa State, like we mentioned before, Meredith, turned their season around in the latest bracketology at playing St. John's as a number 9 seed. They got to close the Big 12 season kind of like the men do, really with a tough schedule. How do they get through it, and how do they make the NCAA tournament?
Well, they have 3 games left. I mean, if they lose tonight, this will be one of the first time in a few years where they haven't reached 20 wins. That's a big deal for women's basketball here. They really got to push through on the shot making. Their senior has to step up. Chastity Cole, she needs to be shooting well from behind the arc. Haley Christopherson, right now she's actually shooting 43% behind the arc, which is great. But if she has games like tonight, it's not going to do so well for the rest of the season. They really got to step up on their shooting.
You know, Iowa State's schedule doesn't get any easier. They go in and play Oklahoma State, Kansas State, and then finally at Baylor. It's going to be a really tough game. But Iowa State, they're right back in the mix, Aaron. They're 7-7 in conference play, right at 4th or 5th in the Big 12 right now, have a chance to even solidify that spot going into the Big 12 tournament. So this team's in a good spot right now, but they got to keep moving forward into the Big 12.
And I think you got to give a lot of credit to the head coach, Bill Fenley. I remember talking about this team about 3 weeks ago when they were sitting 0-4 in the Big 12, and everybody was like, well, this never happens to a Bill Fenley coach team. Right. And I think he realized he had to change his coaching styles. He didn't have the Allison Lacey or the Lindsey Metters that Iowa State has been used to the last 5-10 years, and he didn't have the athletes, like you said, at the point guard. He always stresses he's incredibly hard on his point guard, and I think Lauren Mansfield has come around and really, like we can't stress enough, turned this season around, made Iowa State basketball respectable again this year, and continuing to move forward. Lauren Mansfield, as you can see right there, averaging 8.5 points per game, shooting 90% from the free throw line and 35% from the field. She's stepped up her game in the last few days, and that's made everybody else step up theirs.
Oh, absolutely. And you talk about playing defense. Chastity Cole has been another player that's really stepped up for Iowa State. And that game against Oklahoma, Aaron, Iowa State had a huge lead going into halftime. I think they led by as many as 15 points. And then that lead got cut down to 1 late in the second half, about 2 minutes left. So something Iowa State's going to need to continue is playing defense throughout the entire game. Also, as we said, Lauren Mansfield is going to keep having to hit those threes. Look to Anna Prinz to stay healthy, keep contributing for Iowa State. 3 things Iowa State needs to get done throughout the rest of the season.
Running out of time right here on our second segment real quickly. Meredith, before you leave us tonight, Iowa State, do they pull out this victory late? I know they're down about 6 right now, under 3 minutes left. Do you think they get it?
I think they do, no doubt. In the beginning of February, I was listening to a press conference with Bill Fenley, and he was just discussing about how February they're taking it 1 game at a time. And so far, they have been impressive this February, and I think tonight they'll pull it off like they have all month.
Yeah, we got a score update, 49-45, just under 2 minutes left in the game. So hopefully they can pull it out down.
Maybe Hilton Magic's hopefully going to hit the Twister Sisters tonight like it's done for the men this year. We got to hit our final break right here on Cyclone InCYders. Coming up next, a big one in the Big 12. Maybe lost a little bit of significance, but probably not much in the border wars. Kansas and Missouri will meet for the final time on the hardwood. Missouri bolting to the SAC. We'll talk about that game as well as take a look at the AP Top 10. Meredith, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
Stay tuned. You're watching Cyclone InCYders. Welcome back to Cyclone InCYders right here on ISU TV. Once again, alongside Matt Van Winkle, I'm Aaron Bauer, and we're in segment number 3 of 3 on tonight's episode, and that's where we're going to take a look at the national scene. Big game. We're going to stay in the Big 12 for this segment. For the main part, the border war. Once again, Kansas taking on Missouri. This time it's at Fog Allen Fieldhouse. Missouri came back and got the emotional win the first time these two teams met. As we mentioned before the break, Missouri bolted to the SEC. Might be the last time these two teams play on the hardwood. Really a shame to see that, as they've been playing ever since the early 1900s. Yep. So as we continue through here, Thomas Robinson, big player for Iowa State, potential player of the year. Who wins this game and why, and what's going to happen?
I really do like Kansas. I was very impressed with the play of Thomas Robinson and Tyshawn Taylor. I think they're a really good duo in the Big 12. And, a lot of people talk about the Big 12 not being as good as they are this year. Only 3 teams in the top 25, but Kansas and Missouri are 2 of the best teams in the nation, both in the top 5, top 25 for that matter. Thomas Robinson, as we said, averaging 17.7 points per game. That guy's just cleaning up on the boards as well. So Thomas Robinson's a guy that you're gonna want to watch into the NBA, into the draft, and he's just going to be a great player for them.
That I completely agree with you. And as like you said, Missouri coming off a really tough loss in Columbia to Kansas State. Kansas State sweeps Missouri on the year, so they're gonna have that monkey on their back. They're gonna probably drop in the polls regardless if they beat Kansas this Saturday. But they got a pretty good player of their own in Marcus Denman. He can really light it up from outside, take it in, drive and dish to multiple players on the team, actually. Taking a look at his points, real similar to Thomas Robinson's, averaging 17.8 points a game, shooting 40% from the three-point line, 46% of the field in just above 30 minutes of action. Missouri, a team that, given the wrong matchup, as we saw tonight against Kansas State, really can kind of struggle. they're one of the most unselfish teams, not only in the Big 12 but in the nation.
Well, both teams are just totally physical teams, and that's why they're in the top 5. And I think in the Big 12, that's what you expect: very physical play. And I think I was watching that Kansas State game. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, and those teams were just going after it. And as we head into the final 3 games here, it's going to be a dogfight for who wins the Big 12. You know, it's a toss-up right now between Kansas, or Missouri, and Baylor. Maybe even throw Iowa State in there. You know, they have a chance. I mean, maybe hypothetically they might have a chance, but you know, some strange things might have to happen. But you know, as we look at the Big 12 conference standings right now, Missouri sitting up top at 12-2, 12-3 now, I guess, after that loss to Kansas State. So Kansas has a big game against Missouri. You know, it might determine who ends up winning the Big 12. I think it probably will have big implications. As you said, Baylor, that third team there, that's ranked in the Big 12 at 13th in the nation right now, 9-5. And there's Iowa State right there, tied right with Baylor at 9-5 as well. So if Iowa State can win their final 3 games of the season, end up with 12 wins, that's going to be the first time that Iowa State will have 10 wins. You want to guess since when, Aaron? Do you want to guess the last time Iowa State had 10 wins in the Big 12?
I'm going to go back with 2000, 2001.
You're right.
All right.
Maybe you looked at my sheet.
I just remember that was the last time Iowa State really, I think they ended that year 25-6. And you got to remember, Baylor has moved to 10-5 in the Big 12, taking down Texas last night, a really hard-fought game over in Austin. And so Iowa State has to clean up Texas Tech tomorrow to maintain in that race. And, you know, the Big 12 conference tournament is going to be a little bit different this year with only 10 teams. You want to stay out of that bottom 4. Bottom 4 are going to have to play on that very first day, and you could get out before the tournament really even starts. And then latest projections has number 4 playing number 5. And right now that is Texas. So Iowa State would be matched up once again with the Longhorns, which I feel is a pretty good matchup for Iowa State. They did lose that one down in Austin, but it's going to be interesting to see who finishes where at the end of the season, what seedings. And like we said, if you get Missouri matched up against a Kansas State, why not pick Kansas State?
Yeah, I mean, Kansas State definitely is a team you're going to want to watch out for going into the Big 12 tournament. But Iowa State, you got to watch out for them too. You know, they have a history in the Big 12 to maybe make some upsets, but they also have the implication of getting upset. We said in 2001, they were upset in the first round of the Big 12 tournament, and they were upset in the first round of the NCAA tournament to Hampton. I don't even know who they are, but you know, Iowa State is a team you're going to want to watch out for. I think you're also going to want to watch out for Texas, though. You made a good point. Texas is a good team. You know, they've had some tough games, couple close ones as well. Iowa State went down to Texas, and you know, they didn't play their best basketball, but Texas is going to be a team you're going to want to watch out for. So, you know, anything can happen when you get into the Big 12 tournament, but Iowa State definitely needs to continue it throughout the rest of the season. Get this win tomorrow, maybe sneak out a win against maybe Baylor at the end of the season.
Definitely, Jacobin Brown, a really good player for Texas. And if we can pull up the AP top 10 right now, we're talking about players of the year. Thomas Robinson, maybe a Marcus Denman from Missouri, but Anthony Davis from Kentucky, who is currently sitting at number 1 in the land. He's really been the powerhouse in this country. And as you see right there, Kentucky 26-1. Syracuse still on their heels, 27-1. Missouri's going to drop, as I said, going to 25-3 right now. But look over on that right side, you got Michigan State. They're really coming up. They were a number 1 seed in the latest brackets. UNC was in a little bit of early trouble with North Carolina State tonight. Pretty sure they pulled that one out. And Georgetown sitting right there at number 8. They were down 16 last time I checked to a Seton Hall team who's trying to play their way in the tournament.
And you look at Marquette creeping up there in the top 10 as well. And you talk about Kentucky. I'm going to tie in Iowa State one more time here. Joe Lunardi had Iowa State picked 9th in the Bracketology in that Northeast region. And Iowa State, if they advanced in the second round, guess who they'd play?
I'm going to go with Kentucky.
Kentucky. What do you know? So Iowa State, you know, they're going to have to watch out for Kentucky as they head down final few games there. So you never know, Aaron.
I know you're going to fill out your brackets, as am I. Who is one team maybe that you're going to pick who maybe is flying under the radar right now? Who's a team that you can think advance not only to the Sweet 16, but maybe a little farther, like the Elite 8, Final 4, and maybe just possibly who's your underdog national championship pick?
I don't know. You look at a couple teams out there in the ACC, and you look at maybe even a Florida State who has had some big upsets. I know, you know, they might get into the tournament, but you also look at Creighton. Creighton's been a team that's been upset. I got to go with my boy Doug McDermott here. You know, he's been playing outstanding basketball, and I think if that team, you know, they're a streaky team, but if they can pull off the upset, we've seen, you know, those Missouri Valley teams just do crazy things. I'm going to pick a Missouri Valley team to do something crazy in the tournament as well this year. I'm going to go maybe with a Creighton.
I agree. Creighton's going to be tough. Don't forget about Wichita State also in the Missouri Valley. I like Marquette sitting at number 10 out of the Big East. Sure. I think they've just got the experience and the talent of a basketball team that can make a late run into the NCAA tournament. regardless, we'll find out eventually. March is right around the corner, and you'll find out everything that happens, filling out your brackets and everything. So we're running out of time right here on Cyclone InCYders. For Matt Van Winkle, I'm your host, Aaron Bauer. We'll see you next Tuesday night. Have a good one.